It would be a great fit, Skip, but Cam, it's like Cam has a no trade clause, so if they say we're sending you to Cincinnati, Cam would have to pack his bag and move to Cincinnati. But it would be a great fit. And people are like, well, why do you think it's a great fit? Because he's better than Trubisky. That's the only, for no other reason. He's better than Mitchell Trubisky. So with that being said, nothing else really needs to be said, Skip. I still think Cam has some great years in front of him. He needs to go ahead and get that foot repaired, though. Because the thing is that he's going to be approaching 30. And if you were to have the surgery, you're looking at somewhere around March, April, and teams are going to want to know that you're healthy. And you don't want to run the risk. It's, obviously, everybody says it's a minor surgery. All surgeries are minor when they're not on you. But if I was Cam, I would have the surgery and look forward to a new future because the writing's on the walls. They're moving in a different direction. And Cam needs to prepare himself to be also ready to move in a different direction. But I think it'll be a great fit. It's a very good team. I think they're a quarterback away. I think their defense plays entirely too much because their quarterback isn't good. And so we don't get an opportunity to see just how good their defense is because I don't care how great your defense is, put them on the field enough and you'll find out somebody will expose them. And that's what you're seeing happening, all these 3 and outs, and you don't get an opportunity to see these guys play to their maximum capacity. So he has the arm that can throw in the cold weather. Obviously, Green Bay, cold weather. Chicago, cold weather. This will be its home game. But Detroit, Minnesota, you've been a dome. So I like it. I like it. That was one of the first teams when this first came up, Skip. Chicago was first out of my mouth. And then Denver should be on the phone trying to get him, make sure they can get a talk to him.
I hear what you're saying. On paper, he would be a great fit for this team, in part because he's just so much better than that quarterback that I did not love before he got picked. And they do have the pieces in place where you'd say, well, if you could take it up to Cam's even approaching MVP level, you'd have something going on there in Chicago.
Right.
But I worked in Chicago for 3 years as the lead columnist of the Chicago Tribune, and I wrote a whole lot of columns about the Chicago Bears, so I have a pretty good feel for how that town feels in response to the Chicago Bears. I do not think Cam would be a great fit there. And I've always thought this about Cam. The truth is, he belongs in L.A. or New York or maybe Atlanta, where he's from.
Oh, yeah.
But that would also work. But those 3 destinations would be where he would really fit because Cam's got superstar in him.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit of diva in him. He's always about the flamboyant wardrobe.
Got swag going on.
He's got lots of swag going on and high cool factor. But he's also, in large part, a solo act to me.
Okay.
He often sort of with the Panthers set himself apart from the team, if not above the team. And we've seen him all too many times when it went wrong, he'd go sit by himself on the end of the bench, put a towel over his head or neck. And Chicago won't play that game very long. If it got off right and he was really performing at that MVP sort of level on the field, it would work. But at heart, that's still blue-collar fandom.
Oh, yeah.
And
they're still a defensive town.
They're a defense team. And there was one aberration with the Bears, and it was Jim McMahon in 1985. Probably our younger visitors, our viewers won't really remember all this, but in 1985, it was a one-hit wonder for Jim McMahon.
Yes.
He had a pretty good year for a great football team with, I think, the greatest defense ever. The 85 Bears. But Jim was known as the punky QB.
Rebel, outlaw, Rebel Skip. He had the Roselle headband that he got fined. The helicopter was flying over the Super Bowl. He mooned them.
And he sort of led the charge with their video they did.
Yeah,
It was the first
Super Bowl
big
shuffle.
video. Yep. But Jim McMahon was team first. He was one of the guys.
Yes.
He hung out with the offensive linemen. So Chicago embraced all of his antics and all the colorful part because they were winning.
Correct.
And the focus was on the defense and the running back, Walter Payton.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes.
So, again, Jim just didn't screw it up. You know, he didn't get in the way on Sunday. He kind of got in the way off the field, but it was like a pleasant distraction. You know, it was a diversion from the drudgery of day-to-day. But Michael Jordan, in the end, in Chicago, was beloved because he had a lot of blue collar in him. He had a lot of lunch pail in him. When it came time to practice, nobody practiced. He practiced like psycho hard.
Right.
He worked out psycho hard in the gym with the great Tim Grover as his trainer.
You got to win.
And when it came time to tip the ball off, he played like crazy hard every dribble.
He never cheated them, and they
No.
knew no matter what, win, lose, or draw, they knew they were going to get maximum effort. Skipping in quarterbacks, they'll let a lot. If you win, the fans will tolerate a lot. They were telling the story. John McClain wrote the story about how Ken Stabler didn't show up for practice one day, and it was Veterans Day, and they was frantically they were looking for him. They said, "Well, Ken."
Which team? Oakland?
He
or
was with
New Orleans.
Houston.
Oh, with you? Oh,
Yeah.
well, because
New Orleans, John McClain.
Okay.
And it's like, well, Ken, where were you? He's like, hell, I was a veteran. He didn't serve in the war. He's just a veteran football player.
Yep.
But Kenny Stabler he won. And guys will talk. Jim McMahon, those antics wouldn't have flown if they, as great as the Bears were, Skip, if they didn't win, coaches are not tolerating that. People are not tolerating, even your teammates.
Okay, but I was around Kenny Stabler a lot, and he was one of the fellas. He did not. He was not a diva. He didn't say I'm better than you. And Cam has some of that operating.
He's gotten better.
He's gotten better.
He's gotten better.
But he did post the recent video, and he's smoking his stogie and he's sipping his wine. And if you don't play up to the level expected in Chicago, they will not accept that. That video or that sort of presentation. That won't work.
They're old
school. You know those guys that Peyton and the Bears guys, right?
Old school.
The Bears.
Hey.
And that's, Skipping, when you think about Chicago, I can only really think of one great offensive player, and that's Walter. Most of their franchise goes back. When you go back to Doug Atkinson, you go back to Bill George and Buck. Okay, Sayers. I forgot about. Don't forget Gale Sayers.
It didn't last long, but it was.
He was special. But when you think monsters of the Midway,
Yep.
and that is not for their offense.
No.
That's for their
But
defense.
Cam could be a monster the Midway, the way he can play if he could continue to play at that level where he's running over people.
If you win in Chicago, because they're starved for a winner for so long, Skip, and they want to go far into the playoffs, I mean, they accept, the thing is, you got to show that you care.
Yeah.
The reason why they never accepted Jay Cutler, because it's like, if they won, he was fine. If they lost, he's fine. I'm going home to my wife, and I'm cool with that.
I agree.
And the fans like, no, we want you as invested as we are.
Okay.
When you lose, we get upset. We want you to be upset.
But just hypothetically,
Yes.
you put Cam Newton as the quarterback of the Rams, and it's not going to happen, but you do that, it's Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
And he would rise and shine in that role. He would be made for that role.
It's interesting to even picture it. He would fit in LA. Definitely his outfits would, always.
Come on, hang out with your boy, Cam.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.